Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your host, Alex Giesis, and I believe this is the 26th episode of Speedify Live. Our special guest today is the one and only Doc Rock, the community manager from ECAMM. Hey, Doc, how you doing?
How you doing? This is awesome. Good to see you guys again.
Yeah, I haven't seen you since ECAMM's Leap into Live conference, which was fantastic, by the way.
So much fun. So much fun.
Thank you for
I've
inviting
been
me.
like super busy running around doing conferences and like, of course, getting ready for what is about to become the crazy holiday season. We always get a new batch of live streamers at that time. So yeah, it's always busy.
Yeah, I bet. All right. So our goal here, right, is to make sure that we help people up their game in their live streaming, right? Which is obviously why we have guests like you. What are your thoughts on, so let's say I'm a new person. I am thinking about getting started. It's the holidays. I want to live stream. Where do I start?
All right. So honestly, this sounds super crazy. The first thing you should do is just straight up start. Like, don't get crazy. Don't get, concerned about all the minutia. In the beginning, you kind of got to get 5 to 10 live streams under your belt just to get used to talking to a camera like you're talking to a person. And it's funny because so many people talk about this fear of speaking to camera, not knowing what to do when you're speaking to a camera. And I'm like, that's something you learned that you didn't even know where you learned it, because when you were a kid, when anybody pointed a camera at you, we couldn't get you to shut up, right? Go to any 3-year-old and ask them about dinosaurs or something. And they'll be like, oh man, dinosaurs. And there's the stegosaurus. And it was like this. And then the big one. And then like 10 minutes later, you're like, why did I ask this kid about the dinosaurs? Right? So it is one of those, it's one of those things. So somewhere, and I've started to come to the conclusion that it was in reading out loud in school, right? Because I didn't want to go to school with my glasses. I went to school with no glasses on because I thought, you would get beat up less. When you get to college, glasses make you look cool. But at elementary school, it was asking to get in fights. So I couldn't read because I couldn't see. I know how to read, but I couldn't see good. So I would like stutter my words and say all that stuff. I think that was the beginning of the quote unquote being afraid to public speak or being afraid to talk in front of folks. So the best way to remember that that's not a real thing is to get your phone, connect your phone to your computer. There's a bunch of ways to do it. ECAMM would just read your phone and use that as your master and go from there. As you get your reps in, then you start worrying about what kind of gear and stuff you want. Because you got to see if you really like it first before you go and spend a lot of money.
Yeah. So obviously, though, as you get going, you start getting more and more gear.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of gear are you using these days?
It's a bad. So my camera situation is I'm still currently using my A6400 as my master camera, and I have that connected to a Sigma 16. The reason why I do that is in order to pull off this look where I am properly exposed in the front, but I want my back to be dark, which is like different, like how your back is, lit, and then your face is lit, and then you're using a little outside light or something to light you up. So I'm in the basement. I don't have any outside light. So I use 2 master lights to bright to my face. I keep the rest of the room dark, but then I use practical lights just to give it pops of color so it wouldn't be boring. You know what I mean? It just adds a little extra something to your space. So like looking at your setup on your drums on the 3rd shelf there, I would get a really small light like a Amron MC and just put it right
Mhm.
behind there, turn it blue so that it glows Speedify, and just put it right there, and it add a little extra boom to your setup, and it just totally changes the back look. It's weird, but it does, and that's why you'll notice whenever you watch TV or you watch like movies and stuff like that, they always have extra lights on in the back, even broad
Yeah,
daylight,
yeah.
because
You've got some cool
it
effects going on there.
adds a little flair to your scene, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy. A simple $20 LED light from Amazon will solve your problem.
All right.
It's
Yes,
not a
I got to tell
problem.
you,
You just make it
cleaning people were here today,
better.
and when they cleaned, they moved all the lights, camera. Like I should have left. Do not touch anything. So I tried to put everything back, but now I'm seeing like the lighting is clearly not right. I didn't get the lights right, but now we're live, so I can't mess with them.
No, don't mess with them. You're
So
fine.
my setup got a little messed up. It's all right. So tell us about ECAMM. I mean, I just assume everyone knows what ECAMM is, but that is probably not true. So yeah, tell us about ECAMM.
So ECAMM, actually ECAMM, the company, we make a bunch of utilities. Some utilities you probably remember from back in the day. Anybody remember in the original iChat game, before Apple actually built it in, they had a software called eyeglasses that would allow you to do cool things like have camera effects and make your camera look a little better. And that was based off the old soda can front eyesight camera. And you could do things like the goldfish bowl and all of the things that were in vogue of that day. And then there's Skype call recorder, which a lot of people know about, but don't realize that we're the same company. And then there's ECAMM Live, which is my go-to live streaming software. Heck, even Printopia back in the day, if you remember that, that's us too. So ECAMM, the company's
Oh,
been
it
around
is
since
really.
it's been around since
How long have you guys been
1999.
around? All right.
1999. We're old enough to drink this year. So it's kind of funny. That always makes me laugh when I think about it. And oddly enough, when I was a tech writer at AOL, I found pictures and video of when I interviewed Ken and Glenn back in like 2012. And it's just so random that like I work there now because it was, back in those days in Macworld, they had the small section in the back of the conference where they had all the tiny companies that were just coming up. You'd have a little table and the
Uh-huh.
sign. I remember we used to call that was the best apps were back there. Like the big guys take up all the space and the elaborate displays and models and the whole 9 yards, but the best apps back in the day were always back there. And I remember two things I picked up from that back corner was meeting them, talking to them about Skype call recorder, which solved the problem for me as I was live streaming for AOL, and FlexiBits, Sean, that now is Fantastical, right? One of my favorite calendaring
Mhm.
apps. So I remember meeting all of the cool people back there in the small corners. And even I met a guy, Busy Cow, John Chaffee, who wrote Busy Cow. That guy's from Hawaii. Didn't know that. I've been using that app for like 5 years. I'm thinking it's some fancy mainland software firm, but he's like, no, man, I wrote this app on the beach. So it's
All right.
kind of fun. But yeah, ECAM's been around for a while, but our live streaming app is the easiest Mac streaming platform out there. It kind of takes the fussy stuff out of your way so you can just pop on and even have guests like I'm your guest today because you're using ECAM.
Yeah. Yeah. So our setup here, of course, we're using ECAMM. I'm stuck on a PC at this moment. So actually, we're both guests to the third guy,
Oh,
Ryan, who's our producer back there. And then it's streaming
nice.
from ECAMM to Restream, who's then sending it to
To
everywhere, wherever
everyone.
you're watching it.
Yes.
YouTube, Facebook, my LinkedIn, Twitter, all those
That's
places. But
cool.
it's ECAMM to Restream to the world is
So that
the
explains why
setup
the
here.
voice of Ryan comes out of nowhere.
Yes. It's like God.
don't
um,
don't give Ryan a big head.
so, all right, so we are live. So as Miles here has figured out, you can type comments and we will see them. So if you have questions for me, questions for Doc, just ask them and they should pop up here. I'm remote tomorrow, confident in ECAMM, but not in the Wi-Fi. Let's go Speedify. What am I doing?
Nice.
Yeah, get Speedify. So Speedify is our software for those who don't know. It runs in the background on your computer or on your phone and lets either of them use all of your internet connections. So right now, actually, I can share screen. Let me share a window here, and you see my Speedify. Boop. Tell me when you see it. Stop sharing. There we go. So right now, this is live, running on my computer. So right now I am plugged into Ethernet, and I'm on my Wi-Fi, which is Giza's, and the cellular is this iPhone plugged in with tethering. So I can just, I can have absolutely terrible things happen. Yeah, let's do this. You guys loved it so much that you can't. If I pull out the Ethernet,
Yo, it's so crazy.
that
is
see
so
the Ethernet
crazy.
disappear, and I believe I'm still online.
Yeah.
Let me try to see if I can get it back in. I get it back in, and it should reappear, right? So Speedify detected that the Ethernet was missing and just immediately started shoving things onto the Wi-Fi and the cellular. So I stay online. So yeah, Speedify, good way to, we're picture in picture. Ryan, can we go side by side again?
Boom.
There we go.
Damn, Ryan's good.
So that's Speedify, right? So it runs in the background, and so if you figure out you tether your cell phone, if you get Wi-Fi and Ethernet, on your phone normally it's cellular and the Wi-Fi, so either one can kind of crap out, and it just switches right over, right? So programs don't even notice that it happened, and you're still good. So that's our magic, right? So it is actually ECAMM through Speedify to Restream. Forgot to pitch my own product in the middle of this tech stack.
So here's what's funny. Yesterday, one of the people in my community asked a question. I want to make sure that I get it right. She said someone was telling her about the possibility of being doxxed as a YouTuber, and if Speedify would sort of help with that, because I guess the person was explaining that while you're live streaming or just posting videos, they can track back to your IP address and blah, blah, blah. So we were all like, hey, we use Speedify, so it's never my IP address anyway. So that was just our direct answer, but I should make sure that's the right answer before we keep telling her that.
So we protect them from tracking back to your IP address. That is absolutely true. I'm not 100% certain that's all the doxers are doing, right? I know there are a lot of professional poker players that use Speedify because apparently it's a common thing in poker to try to figure out the other player's IP addresses and send huge amounts of crap to them to try to make them disconnect from the poker game in the middle, because then they fold it. You can force someone, if you figure out someone's IP address and you get enough people to just send garbage to it, sometimes you can force them to fold when you think they have a good hand, which is obviously cheating. But Speedify helps hide your IP address, and we do a bunch of filtering to make sure if they send you crap, it never gets shoved down your internet connection. It gets stopped.
It serves two purposes. That's
Yeah,
crazy. I never knew that. I have
to
ask my cousin. He's a professional poker player. I wonder if he knows about this. I'm like, dude, I'm buying you Speedify for Christmas, and he'll think it's expensive, but it's not. So
that's right. Yeah,
that'd be great.
So, you're playing a game and you mysteriously lose your internet for a minute. It might not be a mistake. You might have been attacked.
Oh, that's awesome.
So how does ECAMM compare to the other streaming tools out there? I mean, obviously there's
again, I think for us, we do a good job of taking all of the unnecessary nerdery out of it. You kind of just turn it on and put in your credentials and you're ready to go. So I think that helps out a lot. But honestly, every time this question comes up, I say that, people always ask, what's your favorite feature of ECAMM? Like, why is it so dope? It's the 18,000 people in our Facebook community, and that's it. Like, our community is amazing. It's so crazy, but there's some of the best people out there. They're so willing to help. People will dive in. People will jump on someone's stream and walk them through their setup, teach them how to use their camera, their mic, their whatever. So I just think our community is amazing. And it's weird to say that as a community manager, but I said that before I was ever the community manager. Our community is quite amazing. And we have some pretty amazing subject matter experts in there as well. So I think that honestly is what separates us from anybody else, because there's a lot of apps that allow you to switch cameras and connect your feed to, RTMP or whatever. But our community is the best, hands down.
Yeah, so can we talk a little bit about how you guys built that up? I mean, because when I watch your streams, I'm jealous, right? The sheer number of questions and how often you obviously know the person from when they were on previous streams. How do you keep everybody coming back like this, Doc?
Strangely enough, to me, the first thing I did with the community is give them the power to feel like it's okay. I think a lot of times, for instance, we do have rules and stuff. We're not like a free for all, but there's just a lot of companies like, oh, you can't ask that question, or you can't do this, or you can't say that, or you can't do this. And no, we don't want that. We want people to feel that it's okay. Believe it or not, opening up the ability to let them stream in the community to test their stuff, that's a big help as well. Because I've been in other places, well, you can't do your streams in here, but I'm just trying to see if this works, and you guys all know how to use it, so I'm streaming in here so you can see the problem I'm having. Nope, can't do that. Well, that's weird. And for anybody running a live show, always talk to your audience. Always, pick up your people, start to know them by name, know their avatars by their name. So you'll see in the chat right now, there's Mr. Camera Junkie. That's Luis. Luis and I make it a point of, I see your nickname, right? I see it says Speedify on there, but Speedify, like, what's your real name and like, what do you do? Or what's your actual name, or what should we call you? I don't want to just call you Speedify. That sounds weird. And then you'd be like, oh, it's Alex. All right, cool. Alex, dope. And he's like, oh, I'm from Philly. And I'm like, haha, the Raiders kicked that butt, didn't it? So that automatically causes a fight.
Everybody kicked our butt. That's nothing.
And then now, but now it's a conversation. Now we have something in common that I will always remember you by. And, we conversate on that, and we develop a rapport. It's no different. I think, was listening to this book today about your special feature or your unfair advantage, because everyone likes to say that this person had this unfair advantage because they're talented or they're rich or whatever. So you still got to figure out what your unfair advantage is. My unfair advantage is, I guess, I was a DJ for many years, so I just know how to talk to people, even if I can't see them. Answering the phone on the radio, hey caller, like, where are you calling from? I guess maybe that's my unfair advantage. Try to make people feel comfortable.
Cool. I guess my advantage is I've convinced a bunch of really smart people to work for me. So now people mistakenly think I'm smart.
that is a good one.
Yeah, between the thick glasses and the people behind me, like, there's all these people who think I'm a genius, and I have no. Well, I do know why, but they're a little confused.
That's funny.
Actually, I discovered that, right? So I used to play chess, right? And when I'd get together with people, I would just crush people. And then I started playing online. I'll answer this in a second, Tech in the City. And I just got crushed, right? During the pandemic, we moved to online and everyone beat me. And I finally decided that I was just intimidating people with my thick glasses, right? That they thought I knew what I was doing. Guy looks so smart. All right. Can we get Tech in the City's question back? All right, there we go. Hey, Alex, clients of mine are using Speedify with multiple AT&T and Verizon LTE connections to stream from several teams competing at the Hawaii High School Bowling Championships. Nice. Oh, that's not a question. That's just a scenario. That's awesome.
Yeah, when I did the conference in Albany, I rented to the Nighthawk M1 and I think you want to call it Intelios, the Verizon Enterprise. I rented them from Jim, that's Tech in the City. See, I like to call him by the real name too. And it was great because as Anna and Fulgens was doing the ECAMM behind the scenes, we were connected to the hotel Wi-Fi, which was pretty good, but we also, using Speedify, connected the Netgear Nighthawk M1 as the secondary backup and the other one as the tertiary backup. So we were pretty confident nothing was going to happen.
Yeah, you're the fourth or fifth guest now who has mentioned those Nighthawk M1s as the way they get another cellular connection. So I've heard nothing but good about them. I think I need to go.
If you can get the new one, Jim said it's the Verizon 8800L. I like that because it's 88. That's my number.
All right, cool. So you use Speedify, right?
Oh, 100%. Ever since I've been using Speedify, life has been gold. Like, I absolutely love it. Here's something strange. I don't know how it's related. It might have been timing, but before everyone says you could only stream to Facebook in 720, I'm like, that was my story. That was real. The day after I installed Speedify, I started streaming to Facebook in 4K, and it's flawless. I don't know how it works, but it's flawless, and it pretty much works like a champ. And every stream since then has been in 4K to Facebook. So, sorry, Meta.
Really? Meta. I mean, I guess it's still Facebook, right? The product is Facebook, but the company is Meta now.
Yeah, the Metaverse.
All right. So obviously, when you're doing a lot of streaming and live video calls, you end up eventually having situations where the internet doesn't work right for you, right? We call those stream emergencies. Do you have any
stream emergency? The stressful situation when one's live stream breaks down or cuts out unexpectedly.
Oh my goodness, I love it. I love it. Okay, my stream emergency. This is great. So you mentioned earlier that we were doing this tech conference back in September, and we're in our ECAMM headquarters. Everything is going along swimmingly, and all of a sudden, Cox Cable, aptly named, decided to just not work in the middle of this important event. There's a couple thousand people like ready to see what's going on. And normally these things happen. It's a blip. It's a 5 minutes or 10 minutes blip or whatever. No, it was like the whole rest of the day. So I streamed the entire second half of a multi-thousand person conference with an iPhone 12 because Speedify kept it going and didn't know. Because this was so cool, I turned off the notification that says, hey, I love this notification, by the way. It's a little cheeky. Speedify, we saved your bacon 8 times. And every time I say, I'm like, thanks, Ryan. I know it's not his fault, but I just blame him. I blame Ryan for everything. So it came.
It's actually possible. It actually is possible that Ryan wrote that.
So it was off. I had the notifications hidden because I didn't want to distract while we were doing our thing. So I get back to the hotel and I'm like, okay, this is going to be great. And I wanted to watch the replay of the Raiders and the Ravens. So I go to my phone and I go to pull it up and they were like, oh, you used up all 60 gigs of your data. When? And so I'm looking at, I go to the site, I check out the packets. I streamed the entire second day of the event from my phone. So yeah, I smacked that cap, but no one know anything. As far as anyone knows, the second day of the event went along swimmingly. And so, yes, you can stream a global conference from an iPhone 12 Pro Max. So that's why I bought a 13. But it works.
Nice.
And then after I saw your video about the Raspberry Pi, and I could have connected this 11 and this other 8 that I have over here, and I could have connected them together. I didn't know that back then, but now I know.
Yeah, it's a real challenge for us, right? So, like, if we pop up a bunch of stuff to tell you how much we're helping you, that's annoying. You're in the middle of the stream. You don't want us to annoy you. But then if we're totally silent and hide all the problems from you, then you end up thinking we didn't do anything. Yes, right? My internet was fine. The stream went fine. I guess I don't need Speedify, right? It's kind of like,
we almost got to figure out what is
umbrella in the rain, right?
Yeah, so on the Hang Up API, there has to be, or at least on YouTube, I know there is. I'm not sure about Facebook and the others. On the Hang Up API, there's a thing at the end where YouTube will tell you how your stream went. If you can find a way to read that in their API and then send the message to me or email it to me, that'll be cool. well, Restream will do it today. When we're done, Restream will email you and say how everything went, right? But
Right.
yeah, if you could figure that part out, that would be dope, because it was great after I knew what it was. And I look at the next day, I came and I clicked the menu bar and it showed, what it was doing. And I'm like, oh, that is awesome. No one saw anything. It's just, it worked. It's crazy. So I tell everybody, like, stop tripping, just get it. And they're like, well, I don't want to buy anything else. I'm like, this is not even buying anything, dude. This is less than a cup of Starbucks. This is what it costs for extra flavor at Starbucks. You technically should be at like $25 a month, but I'm gonna stop telling you that.
Yeah. Price snuck up a little bit. You'll better hurry up before it goes up more. That's cool. No, that's really cool. So when you stream, which platforms are you streaming to? I mean, I know you're on
tend to
YouTube
stick.
and Facebook.
Yeah, I tend to stick to YouTube when possible, but our community streams are on Facebook. And here's the only reason why. I think that when people go to Facebook, they go to Facebook for a myriad reasons, right? But they're going to check up on a friend, stalk an ex, see what's going on in their world of siloed politics. That was a shade. They're going to go argue with their friends about some TV show. What do we think about the Han Solo trailer? Things like that. When you go to YouTube, you're going specifically to watch a video. That's the only thing it does, right? So I tend to put my stuff on YouTube because I know that everyone's coming there is coming for the sole purpose to watch a video. And so hopefully they'll come to watch mine. So I tend to use that platform the most because I think it's the most purpose built for now.
Do you ever use Twitch?
Not anymore. I tried a little bit, and I probably should go back. But at the time, Twitch was raw gamers. There really wasn't a lot of anybody else but gamers. Now it's changed a little bit, so I should go back and do some Twitch. I also stream to Amazon Live right now, but that's the secret squirrel to everything monetization. That's where your channel really makes money. So I won't tell everybody all my secrets, but Amazon Live is the move if you can do it.
Oh, really? Can you tell us more about Amazon Live? I don't know that.
Basically, you go in there and you say, like, hey, I got this new lighting remote. This lighting remote is for my Nan lights, and people click on it and buy it. You get commissions for everyone you buy. And while you're explaining it live and you're answering the questions, you might sell 10 in like 10 minutes, as opposed to telling people to click the links in your chat. So as you talk about, like, oh, here's my new favorite mug to keep coffee all cool all day or whatever, you're explaining that. So I'm in there talking about live streaming gear, Mac gear, computer gear, things like that. And I record my podcast there live to try to attract more people into the podcasting game, because I think everyone should tell their story. And then so it shows up the equipment that I'm using as I'm recording my podcast. But yeah, it's amazing. It's like QVC, but you running it with the stuff you want to talk about. So you can sell your Fender back there or explain it.
And so you're acting as an Amazon affiliate, right? Is that how it comes through?
Yes.
Oh, neat.
Quite amazing.
So you mentioned your podcast.
Yes.
Repurposing content, right? I'm creating, a couple hours of video content a week here. And I feel like I have not been that successful at managing to turn it into, blogs and, short video clips and podcasts and stuff. Any advice on that? Do you feel like you're doing a good job of?
Oh, no, not doing as good as I would want to, but I figured out some shortcuts that would really, really help. There's a wonderful application known as Descript, or it's Descript, really, but I emphasize the D because it kind of does that. It'll listen to your videos and stuff and turn everything into text. And then as you're editing it, as you're editing that text, it's also editing the video, so you're chunking down. One of the things you can do is highlight a passage. And like, I want to turn that into an audiogram for Instagram. It will actually take that passage, generate the graphic, put the, karaoke style. It's not karaoke, it's karaoke. They'll put the style writing on it, and it'll move along as the person's talking. And it's just kind of fantastic. So it helps you get your editing game down because you don't have to become a Final Cut phenom, but it also does wonderful things with audiograms. Headliner app, Wavy. There's a couple of different ones out there that do stuff like that. Those are really beneficial because it allows you to chop up your stuff and turn it into short posts.
Yeah.
And then
Descript or
because it's doing it,
Descript,
because it's doing the
kind of
text
magic. I mean, so it's got like one button to remove all your ums.
That is
all
so
your
crazy.
O's and ums.
It's so crazy.
I sound smart, right?
Yeah, that and overdub. So when you say something stupid, I wish I had it. I did a video last year when the M1s first came out, and I was talking about Thunderbolt docks, and I accidentally referenced them as Apple Silicone instead of Apple Silicon. I have got nothing but obnoxious comments and boob jokes. So I could have gone an overdub and fixed it. And people are like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, okay, believe what you want, fam. But I worked at Apple for 10 years. I know exactly what it's called. It just came out funny. I live in Hawaii. I see more of the former than the latter. And then they just laugh.
That's really funny, actually. Okay, cool. Yeah, and so do you use that and you're turning them into podcasts, or your podcast separate from the video?
I'm using it to edit my podcast, so my podcast is separate. But when I do pull out a chunk and I want to put it on Instagram, I'll just grab it from the transcript and Descript, make a couple of changes to it, and just pull that transcript out and convert it into an Instagram post or an Instagram story. And it's pure magic. And then the other app that helps you do that once you're done is called CapCut, and that will put the captions even better looking than the one that comes out of the script. And CapCut's like free, so you mix them suckers together and you're in there. It's amazing. It's so amazing. It does help out a lot. But because it's also done the conversion, the person that helps you edit your blogs can convert it from what you said into a blog post quicker, because a lot of it's already in Word format. So you can just send them the document and then they can polish it up.
Yeah, and it really does a nice job. I mean, and I've got no connection to them at all. I've just been playing the script. Like if you have multiple guests, it'll play a clip like, who's this person? Alex. Who's this person? Yeah. Doc. And then it puts out a script, Doc : and it puts in grammar with commas in good spots, and it capitalizes names in most places. And then you just search and replace.
I don't know how they do it.
Spotify's and Speedify's, and then it's perfect.
It's so good. It's so good. I don't know how they do it, but it's quite amazing.
All right. So how long were you at Apple? You just said, you were at Apple for 10 years, you just said, but 10 years, what did you do at Apple?
I was a genius, one of the originals.
Okay.
So technically Apple Care, but it's still cannot. Yes, Jim is doing what I'm trying to do, make a router out of a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
Don't go to Best Buy Evil, Jim. They're out of stock. He's here. He's here. He's about maybe 8 miles away from me. So
okay. So here's my Raspberry Pi Speedify router. Not very impressive looking. It's kind of laying in pieces. But yeah, so Raspberry Pi, I mean, they advertise as a $35 computer. But that's just the bare board, right? It's still it's a $90 computer in real life by the time you get it in the case and get the little memory card and all the cables.
So do you need any more than the 2 gig or 4 gig one? Do you need like the 8 gig one in order to do the router thing, or it can be the smallest one?
It could be the smallest one. Yeah. I set one up to be a router, and we were using 300 megs.
Wow.
You don't need a gig.
That's crazy. You know what it is though? When you buy computer stuff, even the tiniest one, you're like, oh, let me just get as much memory as possible. So I kind of overbought my Pi.
The reason, of course, is that we use it's the exact same software. Yes. On the iPhone, on Android, on the Mac, on the PC, on that. Written in C++, it's this core engine. And if we ever use more than 15 megabytes of memory, the iPhone kills us.
That makes sense.
It's just built into iOS. VPNs are not allowed to use, a single byte more than 15 megabytes of memory. So we worked our butts off to get down there, and it worked for everything. So even on Linux, we're 15 megs of memory. I mean, I think there are a few spots where if we think it'll give us a speed boost, we'll use a little bit more there. But for the most part, just really memory efficient because I have to work on an iPhone.
Dang, that's awesome. See, You do have smart people working for you.
Oh, I do. One might be mistaken into thinking I'm the smart guy, that I had anything to do with getting us down to 15 megabytes of memory.
But you point out something that even lines up with streaming people. Going through the process, everyone's learning right now, I might end up needing some help. And the best thing you can do is get help that's better than you, right? Or put yourself in situations where you're around people that are better than you, because that's how you grow. If you're always the smartest guy in the room, you're kind of screwing up. Most people don't seem to know that, but that's what it is.
If you're running low on memory, use CLI. So on Linux with the Raspberry Pi, you don't have to run the user interface at all.
Nice.
Right. So on the PC and on the iPhone, it's kind of, one app, you launch it, you set up Speedify, and then it kind of runs in the background. In Linux, you don't have to run the user interface at all. There's a command line interface. You can type commands. You can basically type Speedify space start, and Speedify will start. And you don't have to use any memory drawing anything on your screen. That said, the smallest Raspberry Pi they sell these days is 2 gigabytes. You're fine.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was thinking about what Greg said about the Raspberry Pi 400. I think those things are so cool. It's just a keyboard with a Raspberry Pi built in. I think they're amazing.
I worked so hard to come up with a reason why I needed one, but the truth is I've got Raspberry Pis. I have Raspberry Pis and keyboards laying all over my office.
All over. You know what it reminds me of?
I don't need a combo Raspberry Pi keyboard.
That's funny. It completely reminds me of the old Texas Instruments TI-4, where it was like the keyboard and the computer was all one little piece. And yeah, it kind of reminds me of
I was in Commodore 64, but yeah.
Oh my
that
goodness.
golden day where your computer, you just plug it into the TV.
I love my 64. 64 was so dope. And then back in the day, we used to like stack memory chips in order to make the first 128s. The Commodore got pissed and finally just made a Commodore 128. So I used to work in a Commodore repair shop. That's where I got my tech chops, was working in a Commodore repair shop. I really loved it. And the Amiga was my favorite machine. Everyone would say it's Mac but honestly, Amiga 500 was like my favorite machine in my Amiga 3000. That's crazy. Right. Dang, we're old.
I know one of the designers of the Amiga 3000, Dave Haney. Maybe I should have him as a guest one of these days. That might be a good idea.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
He's got some funny stories of the old days.
Amazing.
Yeah, so Commodore was in the suburbs of Philly.
Yeah, that's right.
And long forgotten. I think a lot of those guys headed off to Silicon Valley afterwards. But some of them,
they were so ahead of the game. Oh my goodness, they were so far ahead of the game. Like half the stuff we do right now comes from that. Even a lot of the 3D stuff that eventually went to Silicon Graphics and Wave Station and stuff like that, that all comes from Commodore 64, bro. It's kind of nuts.
Yes. There was this weird gap, right, where the Amiga could do all these cool graphics, and then they failed and nobody else could do it for a while, right? So there were all these people with, these ancient Amigas they were keeping running because it was the only computer that could do what they needed, and you couldn't buy another one, right?
That was me in the original video toaster.
Next to what we have.
It's funny when people talk about like, my machine can't do that. I was like, man, I was doing this stuff on the video toaster way heck back in the day. And you don't realize how cheap this stuff is. So even now, people are freaking out about, the new machines because, well, why is the new laptop like $4,000? I'm like, $4,000 is laughable. And this is today's money. If you imagine what we paid for a video toaster and stuff back in the day, and then you calculate that out to today's money, it's almost $20.
The cost per megabyte of memory or something.
Oh.
Right, because I'm sure it had like 2 megabytes of memory or something.
Insanity. Right? I remember going into a store and spending $8,000 on memory. That's crazy. It's just kind of crazy. You can't even do that now if you wanted to. Yep, Atari. I was on Atari too because of my music stuff. That's funny. I was reading David Anthony's comment. What was it called? The Atari ST4.
That was my MIDI.
That was the first MIDI computer. I think it was called the ST4. It was dope.
Yeah.
Man. So, okay, I'm glad to know I'm not the only old tech guy around here.
Yeah. Cool. So what are you doing any cool things outside of work? I mean, obviously I think you use the ECAMM guy, but
Yeah, basically the new podcast I started, I guess it's still kind of similar, but I started a new podcast called Creator 50, shameless plug, creator50.com. And what it's for is I have so many friends with lots of experience and skills in their job or their career, their lives, whatever. And they're not getting out and telling those stories because they think that podcasting or YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all of the above is some like little kids game. And I'm like, no, the biggest echelon on YouTube right now from money making perspective is Gen X plus creators, because we actually have the experience and the knowledge. We're the ones that's actually, killing it. The kids are talking about what they think might happen. Well, if you do this, you can be XYZ more productive. That system's cute. That won't happen. That won't work very long. It's a cool system. It's kind of nice. You got like every color pin in the little thing. You're drawing all the stuff in your little bujo bullet journal, and if you spending all of that time, you ain't working. So you're not going to get there. And eventually it all comes back to an index card with some scratchy notes on it. This is where you make money. The index card with scratchy notes, not the cute little bujo with like anime stickers on it. Nothing wrong with anime. I got anime sticker right here. But it's so
nice.
we have the business experience, we have the knowledge, we have a lot to offer, but they got to get over the idea that it's a young person's game. So with this podcast, I'm trying to sort of like edge creators of a certain vintage to come out and tell the stories, because you're going to save people a lot. You're going to help people feel better. And again, we're the ones that actually have the answers. And if you go back in history, there was always sitting around listening to the old guy tell you the stories about what not to do. And that's how we learned not to get eaten by tigers. Like, it's been around since cavemen. So yeah, why do old people now, because of tech, they go and hide from their stuff, right? It's
but I mean, some of that's just
called
fiction, right? I mean, if you look, there have been multiple studies, and like, at what age are entrepreneurs the most successful? Like, it turns out the most successful age to start a company is 46.
Yep.
Like
100%.
All these people think like, you have to be 20 to start a company. I'm like 30. I'm too old. Like, you're all still too young, right?
Yeah.
There's just this myth, right?
Even now, when you think about some of our, our actors, right? You look at your Harrison Fords, your Morgan Freemans, and Danny Glover. Like, these are guys that came into the party at 40 and are just like working it, right? So yeah, I think that a lot of us need to like stop being afraid of this being a kid's game and dive in. So I started this Creator 50 thing as a passion project. I'm only 4 episodes in. The 5th one is sitting right here ready to upload as I'm editing it in Descript. And yeah, I'm just going to see where it goes. I think it's really cool. Something fun for me to do.
So all the guests are over 50? Is that the 50 part? Is that
No, it's I say Gen X plus. So basically Gen X starts at 41. Right. and then moves up. And yeah, just honestly, I think a lot of people, especially the 41s, they're kind of stuck. Like, when you turn 50, you just realize you don't give a bad word about anything. You just know, I just got to keep it going. it's starting to go away. So, but I think those guys that just turned 40, they've been told by everybody else, remember the Over the Hill? It was always this 40. Yeah. When you go into to buy cards at Hallmark, they literally had a section of over 40, and the first cards you would see is all these Over the Hill cards. And even the Redskins back in the day, they had a whole offensive line that was all like 32 plus. They called them the Over the Hill gang, took them to 2 Super Bowls. So in every industry, there has this situation where they decide that somebody's too old, and then it turned out they're actually the ones that do good. So, maybe you shouldn't listen to what other people say.
I remember when my father turned 50 and he came home from work with a cane and Bengay.
Yeah,
he actually did not find it funny at all. They piled him up with old people stuff. And
Oh yes.
yeah, for him, that really turned out to have been the beginning of his career. Right, he went on to be the president of Queens College after that. So
See, isn't it
yeah,
funny how that happens? But you know what it is? I think it's twofold. I think one is a combination of you start to realize all of the experience you have and how to use it. And the other thing is you really do start to come to the situation, well, it can't get any worse. So a lot of the fear stuff goes out the window because you've already either did it or you realize it's too late to do it. So let's just do it anyway. And the people that get it, they normally do much better once they round that corner. And for me, it was like 43. At 43, I rounded the corner and was like, yo, I don't care what anyone says, I'm going in. So
yeah. My mother-in-law once said to me, she said, the best thing about being 70 is now I can say anything I want. I was like, you actually could before,
yeah.
She'd
It
come
is
home
kind of
proud
funny.
of all the things she told people to do, and sometimes they did it, right?
Yeah.
Got people to dress better and things.
Yep.
That's cool.
100% true. True story.
Yeah. So what kind of cell phone do you use, by the way? Are you Android,
Uh,
iOS?
I have both, but I use my iOS as primary. iOS is always going to be primary for me. Again, I was there when it came out. Like I was there the day that we all got
And you're
brand new phones and the public all got them the next day. So I remember Steve giving us all our first phones. And I still have my original Steve phone. And yeah, I just love it just for me because of the ecosystem. Again, though, I'm deeply buried into the ecosystem, right? So it would be really, really hard for me to switch. But I do keep a random Android phone around in case there is an app or something that comes up that's like this only works with Android, but it might be useful. And I'm surprised at how many people silo themselves into corners about something. I have Mac and PC. I've been a Mac user my
mm-hmm.
whole entire career, but I have two PCs.
Yeah.
Analytics box. So and now Raspberry Pi. Tools are tools, man.
Yep.
It's not worth all of that fighting over. But it happens.
Religion.
Yes.
People get confused and start thinking it's a religion, right?
Yeah.
So
That's funny.
all right.
But it becomes bad when you want to be fair because then you got to buy both an Xbox and a PlayStation. So there's that. I wish I had picked one because now I got both and it's pain in the butt.
Yeah. Actually, any games you're playing these days? I've reached a point where there aren't any I'm playing. And I actually was thinking last night, looking at my son's Xbox, like, maybe I should buy myself a game.
Yeah, there's nothing really as funny where I guess my last one that I really enjoyed was The Division. And then there's always the Madden and the FIFA. That happens every year, no matter what. It's almost like that's a religion. But I haven't seen anything currently that I love. My favorite, if I'm going to take a break and play a game right now, it's the Lego Star Wars game on the iPad. It's just fun. It's super stupid, but it's fun. So I like playing that.
Yeah, my son and I, now a bunch of years ago, binged our way through so many of those Lego games. They really were fantastic.
You know what I want somebody to do? I want somebody to bring back the Robin Williams games, the King's Quest and the Leisure Suit Larry, but like updated for today's style game. It was so dope, right? You got this open world adventure. You're walking around, you're finding clues on trees, and anybody that remembers King's Quest and like Leisure Suit Larry, they're basically the same game, just themed differently. Those were amazing, and I played all of them. So I would love to see those redone with modern style graphics and modern style gameplay, or Rapida Parappa if I gotta be
in virtual reality.
Oh, that would be even more cool because you're just cruising around in your house and your wife was like, "Get the hell out of the kitchen!" Oh, sorry. Why is the kitchen?
So
What
do you think about the metaverse? Is this stuff coming? Are we going to be all in virtual reality here?
Man, we've been trying this since we were kids. It's going to be a minute. It is going to be a minute, but I do think at this point it's dumb not to pay attention to it. And it's dumb not to start making adjustments ahead of everyone else. Because everyone in here has looked at something that came out and says they wish they had kept it the way it was. For instance, I owned Apple stock at $4 and then I got rid of it at like $14 because I listened to other people.
You tripled your money.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
this is really funny. Basically, up until late 2012, I used to mine Bitcoin, and then I had a kilowatt power supply, Mac Tower, and I looked at my electric bill, and I was like, "Yo, okay, right now I got $130 worth of Bitcoin, but I also got like a $400 electric bill. Okay, so that's going to stop." And then I moved in here,
Oh,
which
that's
doesn't
funny.
have
It seemed it was a rational decision at the time, but given how much it's gone up,
right. But then no, it's
you
not
should have just paid
even
the electricity bill, right?
dude. To make it worse, I moved
You
into
couldn't have known
here,
that.
and in my studio doesn't have electric. It's part of the CAM. It's just a flat rate electric fee. So I never connect. I bought the machine here, never plugged it in because I had already said I'm over mining Bitcoin. And then somewhere in about 2015 or 16, they're like, Bitcoin's like 10 grand. And I'm like, what? That machine could have been running for the last 6 years. And it would have been like, it might have been at 1 or 2 coin, but hell, that's 150 grand right now. So you got to make sure you're paying attention to what's going on. And even if the rest of the internet is saying, oh, this is dumb, blah, 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 still look at it because it might not be dumb. You don't want to be 10 years from now going, oh, I remember, Doc and Alec talking about this on the Speedify stream. I should have listened. Don't let the other people psych you out of whatever the metaverse is doing, whether you agree with the company or
So
not. That
I
might
let
be
other
your
people
next big
psych me out
money.
of Bitcoin. So
Yeah.
basically 10 years ago, I got talked out of doing anything with Bitcoin. The friend of mine who almost talked me into it, now he regrets that he got a bunch of coins, spent them, bought himself a Tesla, and he's like, all I got was a stupid car. If I held on to them, I'd be rich. I'm like, dude, I don't want to hear it. I got nothing.
Dude, here in Hawaii, we were buying pizzas at JJ Dolan's with the Bitcoin that we mined. We thought we were cool because we were getting like $20 pizzas for free because we just mined them pizza money. Like we had little ATMs in the whole 9 yards. And I think about how much I went through. Like, bruh, it probably, I would say it's
Paid
worth about
$5 million
$500
for 8 pizzas.
Bruh, it's super funny. It's super, super funny. So yeah, don't get, just keep an eye on it and see, make it work for you. Figure out a way to make it work for you now before it becomes the thing. While everyone's out there cracking. So I did put up my one joke. Wait, I might have to pull up this image because it's funny to me. It might not be funny to anybody else, but it cracks me up. So I'm going to show you, and you tell me if you think it's funny. But I said I'm gonna get my one stupid joke out about the metaverse, and that's it, and then I'll quit. So the only meta that counts is this one. Do you get it? Meta World Peace, Ron Artest.
Oh yeah.
That's why I put the 90.
Right.
I put the 91 in the middle right there because of the Pacers. That's the only meta that counts. The Meta World Peace. Everything else is come on, people. After that, I'm gonna stop joking about it, and I'm gonna keep my eye on it really,
Where is
really
he
close.
These days? He was in Philly for a long time, but I don't hear about him anymore. Is he just?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is he left or? Maybe he's still here. I'm just not paying attention.
The Netflix documentary just came out, and it's a good watch. It's really worth seeing. But yeah, I just hope the guy's okay. Only thing I want to see now that we know what really happened, I would love to see everybody that talks smack about him go back and apologize to the guy. Back then, we didn't understand mental health the way we do now, and everybody picked on him. He was legitimately suffering, and everybody picked on him because they just thought, something was wrong. But he's been in therapy the whole time. Like, dude traveled with a therapist, but no one talked about that. It was just talked about him and Dennis as being a-holes, So I just would love to see the NBA and ESPN and all of the people that dumped him just go back and apologize because we were wrong. I was loving it because I'm a Celtics fan, but yeah, that's a different story.
Yeah. For a long time, he was in Philly. Like the Sixers games. When during the commercial breaks, he'd be the guy who'd come out and give some community member a reward for their great community service and stuff like that.
That's nice.
So I think he's around.
Dude, I grew up not that far from AI. When I was living in Maryland, I was not that far from AI. Like I totally
Oh,
remember
nice.
him at the community gym. I thought he was too short to ball though. Guess I was wrong.
You know, no one else who's that short is good enough to ball. So natural mistake, right?
him and Spud Webb. Wow. Dang, again, we're old.
I
We
always
gotta stop
remember
saying
that
this stuff.
the announcers being like, a officially 6 foot tall Allen Iverson. Like they couldn't even bring themselves to say it, right? Because they knew he wasn't even close.
Dude was 5'8", man, all day, every
I
day.
know.
That's why it's funny. Oh man, it's crazy. It's super crazy.
So what creators are you watching? Like, do you have any time? Are you watching other people live stream?
Oh, absolutely, bro. It's very important that if you're gonna do this, whether it's recorded video or not, you got to study the product, you know. And a lot of people don't understand that. Like, I don't even watch TV and movies the same way anymore. I watch TVs and movies from production value, or better yet, storytelling value. Like, how are they telling the story? Like, how are they producing it? How are they doing stuff? Right. So even like I'm looking at your graphics, Ryan did a fantastic job. When I see something on TV that looks dope, I'll screenshot it and then I'll come down to ECAMM and try to recreate it, with either ECAMM and Canva. So I'm always watching other YouTubers and especially live streamers and seeing what they're doing, any positive takeaways, or if I see them making a mistake that's cringeworthy, I got to go double check my stuff to make sure I don't do it too. And sometimes you do, you just don't know you do it. So you're like, well, I know what that looks like from the opposite side. I ain't doing that no more. So yeah, definitely study your craft.
So anyone in particular though you're following these days? Doing great work.
Probably a couple of my favorite creators, of course. I've been a huge fan of Tom Buck, and it's really weird because he's in my community and we're friends now. But it's still strange to me because like I should just watch his stuff and go, oh my god, I really love his work. I love Potato Jet. I think he's another incredible guy. These are a lot of the camera and tech guys, that talk. And my boy Sagi, he also has another tech channel, which is, really good stuff. Um, I watch, Roberto Blake, Nick Nimmin, all of the guys that talk about live streaming stuff as well. And then outside of the craft, I watch a couple of Japan vloggers. There's a guy named Norm. He's really, really good because I just miss being in country. And until they open up, it's my only connection to the country is that they're there and they're walking around and they're showing stuff. So only in Japan, Chris Broad abroad in Japan, and then Norm. I'm like watching that because I'm dying to get back to the mother country. And そうだもう本当にこれ懐かしいから感じがちょっと冷たいから後では日本に行きたいけどだからさ。
Nice.
So.
Yeah, I haven't been to Japan for 15 years or something. Back when we were doing electronics manufacturing. Different world.
Bruh, I miss it. Just the food. I don't care about nothing else. The food is so good. Like, yeah. I miss the heck out of it. You can sit in the convenience store and have a 5-star meal, bro. It's so good. See? Thank you, Victor.
All right.
I understand.
So now I want to know what the other half of the channels Victor follows are, right?
He can't say those in the daytime.
Fair enough. So any last pieces of advice for the new streamers out there? I mean, so follow your advice. They just got started. What's next?
This creator stuff is real, and you really just have to do it. I was telling my crew today that it kind of don't start measuring your stuff yet. Like, it's not important. You can't really measure anything until you're like 100, 150 videos in. Then you can start to make adjustments. In the beginning, it's easy to get sidetracked and discouraged and, start trying to make changes and all sorts of stuff. No, you got to just stay pat and just keep going. And yeah, you can course correct a little bit, but don't make drastic changes until you're like 100, 150 videos in. It just requires that much work before you have enough, repetition, right? I tell people all the time. I tell people all the
almost
time.
thought you would suggest, trying crazy things until you found something that stuck.
You could do that as well. I mean, you can still try. That's another thing. People are afraid to try the crazy stuff, but they can. No one knows yet. So yeah, you can try your crazy stuff in the beginning. But you think about it, right now, well, it's kind of late now, but it's West Coast. Steph Curry is throwing free throws right now. He's out in the gym taking shots. He takes shots for a living, but he's still taking shots. Tiger's out. He's retired almost. He's still hitting balls today. Trust you me, the dude went somewhere and hit balls today. So you got to get the reps in. You really just have to keep doing it. And a lot of people don't understand that. John Legend is somewhere in the house playing scales, driving Christy crazy. It's like, don't you know all the scales already? You got 87. You got an EGOT. You got 87 Grammys, a Tony, the whole 9 yards. He's still playing scales in his house, bro. So like, get your reps in. However you do it, just get your reps in.
All right. Another good Philly guy. Well, I guess he's long gone now, but used to be.
One of our best guys in the group.
At the same time I did, actually.
One of our guys in the group, he's a Philly producer, and he produced a lot of the Will Smith and Teddy Riley and all of that Philly stuff. And he's in our ECAMM community. His name is Keith Pilzer.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've heard that name.
It's a good guy.
All right. So, the future. What do you think is next for live streaming? It seems like things change about every 2 years. We might be due for another revolution of some sort.
The next big thing is ability to shop directly in the stream. So like right now, you have the graphics, you have the Google Play, Apple Store, available for PC, the Speedify, Twitter, and IG, all of that stuff will eventually become clickable. And that's next. There's a bunch of people working on that right now, but that's what's next. The actual interactive clickable links, which we thought was going to happen a long time ago with television. Remember web TV? We thought we were going to be able to get like clickable links and stuff in TV. And it's funny, the layer still isn't there yet because we got sidetracked by video quality. But I think at 4K, we're at the video quality now, and they're already pushing 8 and 12K. So I think the next big one is a clickable layer.
All right. Yeah, actually, the web TV guys, the people who ended up making Android, right? That's where they went.
Yeah, that's where they went.
So I guess they got on a reasonable sidetrack. They didn't bring us home shopping, but
that's funny. That is true though. They got a perfectly good sidetrack there.
Yeah. So all right, cool. So we're past 6 o'clock. So I think we've been on for an hour here. I can't believe it. Another conversation with you just flies by.
Yeah, and no stream emergencies.
No stream emergencies, right? But I mean, we're both on Speedify. Why would there be?
Exactly. It just works.
All right. Yeah, clickable layer would be mind melting. Yeah, that's what we need. 100%. Clickable layer. And I bet YouTube doesn't want it, right?
Oh, not right now.
There's not some technical reason why it was hard, right? There's no way that Google doesn't know how to do it. They just don't want people clicking off to other sites without them getting a cut. I guarantee you that's something like it's issues like that.
Amazon's on. I guarantee you Amazon is full blast working on it because as soon as they get it, that's why they're pumping Amazon Live so hard right now. Like as soon as it happens, it's gone. Like game over. Whole different situation. Just imagine the gambling guys watch NFL on our special thing, and you can bet on every play. I bet they make the first down. I bet they don't. Okay, go. Up, first down. So man, it's about to go nuts. And just trust me. Once everybody figures out how to make their money on it, it's over.
Yeah. All right. Jim says Trans-Pacific and Transcontinental using Speedify. Yeah, that's right. We are.
Oh, that's true. That's so true. Dang, I forget about the Trans-Pacific part, but I'm all the way out here floating in the water with you, Jim.
Yeah, we're pretty far apart here. This is, these streams are
completely
all over the
opposite
place.
Ends of the country. We're like 6,000 miles away.
Yeah. Ryan's just a mile from me right now, so it's not that exciting. All right. Well, thank you, Doc. I think we're going to wrap this up, and thank you to everybody watching. We'll be back on
Thank
Thursday.
you. It's awesome. This is super fun.
All right. Bye-bye. See you next week.
Hello.